My husband, in his 30s, and I, in my 30s, have custody of my 15-year-old nephew, Theo. He came to live with us last year after my brother asked me if he could stay with us for some time. We agreed, but under the condition that we get to be his legal guardians. We did not want to have my brother manipulate us if he couldn't commit to my nephew living with us, even for a few months. But it has now been almost a year. My brother agreed, and so we became the legal guardians of my nephew. It was decided it would be for as long as needed. My nephew was in therapy and still is. My brother and sister-in-law are supposedly in therapy too, but I have my doubts. Background. When Theo was 7 and my brother and late sister-in-law were expecting a baby girl, Theo asked if his baby sister could be named Summer. His favorite teacher was Miss Summer, and my brother and late sister-in-law agreed. Unfortunately, my late sister-in-law lost baby Summer in her own life due to complications. It was the worst time for the family, and my brother was lost, and he didn't seek any help for himself or for Theo. 2 years later, he slept with my now sister-in-law and got her pregnant, and so they decided to get married. They named their daughter Summer. My brother and sister-in-law said they did it to connect Summer to her late sister and to Theo. But Theo hated that they used the name. My brother and sister-in-law ignored it and told Summer that Theo named her. Almost a year ago, Summer was talking about how her brother chose her special name for her because that's all she heard. And Theo became angry and told her he didn't name her. He named his real sister. He never cared about naming her, and he hated that she stole Summer's name. She wasn't his sister, and he wasn't her brother. And apparently, it became very close to a breakdown. Theo released a lot of rage and pain, and he refused to interact with any of them, which angered my brother, and that's what led to him asking us to take Theo. With almost a year of therapy behind him, Theo has improved a lot. Most of his anger is gone, but some still remains, and he still strongly grieves for his mom and little sister. One thing that has become clear is that Theo still doesn't love his half-sister Summer. He does not want her to be his sister. He wishes she was never born. My husband and I, as well as my brother, have been involved in therapy at different times. And after my brother heard this during one of the sessions, he went and told my sister-in-law, and they started coming to my house more to scold Theo. I spoke with the therapist, and she agreed they needed to stay away for a period of time, at least until they could refrain from speaking to Theo that way. My brother and sister-in-law are angry about the rule of them not coming over. They say I'm working against the family, and Summer is the one who will be hurt the most by all of this. I had to tell them I was standing firm. But my parents think I should work out an alternative solution with the therapist too. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. You are looking out for Theo's best interests, and it is crucial to protect his mental health. Your brother and sister-in-law have shown that they cannot respect his boundaries, and their behavior could harm his progress. It is important to stand firm on your decision and allow Theo to continue his healing journey without their interference. Any new approach should be guided by the therapist's recommendations and centered on what is best for Theo. Forcing a connection won't help, and they need to understand that their behavior is not helping the situation. Your brother and sister-in-law must respect your decision and address their own issues before they can have a healthy relationship with Theo. Comment 2, not the idiot. Your brother did a terrible thing by trying to replace Theo's mother and sister with a new version and made it worse by giving his new daughter the same name as his deceased daughter. No wonder Theo is enraged. And then your brother kicks his own son out of his home because he won't play happy family. I am glad Theo has you and your husband. Please continue to keep your brother away until he is able to remove his head from his rear end. Now, for the update, thank you for sticking with me through this. So much has happened since I last updated. Just when we thought things were settling down, my brother did something that really got under my skin. He showed up at Theo's school unannounced. He wanted to take Theo out for lunch, but Theo refused to go. The school called me, and I had to leave work to sort it out. My brother was fuming, saying I was turning Theo against him. I was furious. I mean, who does that without even a heads up? In the middle of all this, Theo's been doing better in school. His teachers say he's more engaged, and he's even made a couple of friends. It's a relief to see him smile more. But the incident with my brother set him back a bit. He was quiet for days after. Then, 2 days ago, something happened that brought all the hidden feelings to the surface. My sister-in-law posted a video on social media of little Summer singing a song about family unity, and she tagged me. It was like a public plea to let them see Theo. My phone blew up with relatives asking why I was keeping the kids apart. They didn't get it. It wasn't about them, it was about what's best for Theo. I talked to the therapist about it, and she suggested a controlled meeting with just Summer and Theo, no adults. It seemed like a good idea, so we set it up at a local park. I watched from a distance. At first, they just sat there, not talking. Then out of nowhere, Summer hugged Theo. He didn't hug back, but he didn't push her away either. They started talking, and I could see the tension ease a bit. But here's where it gets complicated. Yesterday, my brother and sister-in-law showed up at our house again, uninvited. They said they wanted to thank us for the meeting with Summer, but then they started pressuring Theo to come home with them. Theo looked at me, panic in his eyes, and I knew I had to do something. I told them they had to leave now. They argued, but I stood my ground. It was a scene right there on the front lawn. Neighbors were watching. It was embarrassing, but I had to protect Theo. After they left, Theo was shaken, but he thanked me. He said he knew it was hard for me to stand up to my brother like that. Last night, Theo opened up more than he ever has. He said he didn't hate Summer, he just hated the situation. He missed his mom and the sister he never got to meet. It was a breakthrough, and I cried with him. It felt like we finally understood each other. Today, my parents called. They said they saw the video and heard about the confrontation. They were upset, but this time, they didn't push for a reunion. They said they trusted my judgment. It was a huge weight off my shoulders. So that's where we are. It's been, well, interesting, but I feel like we're finally moving in the right direction. Theo's got a long road ahead, but he's not walking it alone. And as for my brother and sister-in-law, I hope they'll eventually see that this is about Theo's healing, not their feelings. Thank you for reading. My therapist betrayed my trust by spilling secrets to my dad. So I recorded their scheme and got them both fired. My dad put me, 15 years old male, in therapy last year. I didn't want to go, but he told me it was something he felt I needed, and it was something his wife suggested. And because she's a teacher, she'd know. Therapy is supposed to be just me and the therapist during the actual appointments. I even liked the therapist, and we talked a lot. I was honest and did the homework they set for me. However, something I didn't know was that the therapist was telling my dad everything I said to them. I found out 3 weeks ago. I had a Tuesday appointment, and things were normal. Then on Wednesday, my dad gets home late from work, like he normally does once or twice a week, and he was in a shitty mood. He was glaring at me for about an hour and even scolded me for going to my room when my 16-month-old half-sister started fussing. He followed me up to my room like 30 minutes later, and he brought up stuff I had said in therapy. So I figured out pretty quickly that the reason my dad wanted me to go to therapy is that we're not the picture-perfect blended family, and I don't choose to spend time with my two half-siblings who are 2 and 16 months old. The therapist asked questions about my feelings towards my mom, who died, my dad remarrying his wife and the kids. I even had homework surrounding that. But 3 weeks ago, during that appointment, I admitted that I said half-siblings because I know they are technically, but I don't love them or really think about them as my siblings or real siblings. This was the stuff my dad was mad about. He said saying that I don't love my siblings is out of this world cruelty or something like that. He told me I had begged for siblings when my mom was alive, and now that I have them, I don't give a shoot because we have different moms. He said that's shitty because it's not his fault mom died, and he lost her too. He believed that the kids don't deserve to grow up with an unloving sibling or whatever. Dad told me therapy was meant to help me work through the mental block with letting them in, but he was convinced I just didn't care about trying, and I didn't feel bad. I asked him how the hell he knew about all that, and he told me he and the therapist talk after every appointment, and he talks about it with his wife after he discusses stuff with the therapist. He also told me his wife might not be my mom, but to say I don't really care about her either was a hurtful thing to say out loud too. He told me he let that go because she's an adult and can handle it, and he thought maybe that could change with time. But he was very clear that he thought me not loving my half-siblings was unbelievably shitty and made me the kind of person who can never be good. I was pissed that the stuff I was saying was repeated right back to my dad, and that nothing I said would be kept from him. So I go to the appointments because I don't feel like I could say no without things getting bad. But I don't talk now. My dad and his wife are now extra pissed because I'm wasting the money. Am I the jerk? Now, for a few comments before the update, comment 1, not the idiot. Your therapist has violated confidentiality. Unless you signed a paper allowing the therapist to talk to your dad about what is said in sessions, or unless you were actively suicidal, homicidal, etc. A therapist cannot divulge what is said in sessions at all. I don't know how provable this is, but it's a huge deal and could lead to serious trouble for the therapist. Even so, I'd sit there with my hands folded and tell your therapist that trust is broken, and you have no intention of having your words that were supposed to be spoken in confidence used against you by your father. Comment 2. You need to tell your therapist why you aren't engaging. You need to tell them that you no longer trust them. They should never have agreed to talk to your parent. I'm a parent, and when my child was in therapy, I was told in no uncertain terms that whatever was discussed in therapy wouldn't be discussed with me unless my child was a danger to themselves. Technically, therapists can discuss a child's case if they are under 16 with a parent, but it should never be done. Now, for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. Well, things have only gotten messier since then. After I clammed up in therapy, my dad's wife, the teacher, took it upon herself to have a heart-to-heart with me. She cornered me in the kitchen, saying she understood how hard it was to adjust to a new family dynamic, but then she dropped a news. She's pregnant again. I couldn't believe it. Another sibling I'm supposed to love and care for, just like that. The next day, I overheard her talking to my dad, saying maybe they should send me to live with my aunt for a while for the sake of the family. I felt betrayed. They were discussing shipping me off like I was a problem that could be just moved around. I was so angry, I couldn't even look at them. But then, things took an even wilder turn. My dad's wife's sister, who's always been kind of nosy, came over and accidentally let slip that my dad's wife had been married before. She had a kid, a son, who she never mentioned, never brought around. Apparently, she doesn't see him because of some falling out with her ex. My dad didn't know I heard, but I did, and it made me think she's got her own issues with her real kid, yet she's on my case about bonding with my half-siblings. I was reeling from all this when my dad sat me down for another talk. He said he knew I was upset about the therapy breach and that he was sorry. He promised it wouldn't happen again. He wanted to make things right. I wanted to believe him, so I agreed to give therapy another shot, to talk again. But then, the next therapy session, I noticed my therapist was acting weird, kind of nervous, and at the end of the session, she let it slip. She had been threatened with a lawsuit by my dad's wife for not disclosing my sessions if it was in the best interest of the family. I was stunned. My own privacy, my trust, had been traded off like it was nothing. I felt trapped. I couldn't trust my therapist, my dad, or his wife. But I had to keep up appearances, so I nodded along, pretending to accept this terrible situation. I didn't realize that by not fighting back, by not speaking up, I was letting them win. I was letting them mold me into the compliant son they wanted, not the person I am. So I'm stuck here playing the part, while inside I'm seething with resentment. I'm not sure what my next move is, but for now, I'm just trying to get through each day. Thanks for reading. Fiance's brother steals our wedding date. So we elope in secret, and when the affair comes out, I watch the family drama explode from afar. I, 30 years old, got engaged to Jack, 31 years old last year. From the start, wedding planning was a nightmare. We were excited to celebrate and begin venue searching, but Jack broke his knee and couldn't walk for months. During Jack's recovery, his brother Paul got engaged to Eva. Immediately, the family's attention shifted. Paul and Eva got an engagement party. They got to tour venues, go dress shopping. We were just the other ones. By the time Jack recovered, we realized that not only did we not want to compete with Paul and Eva, but that a traditional wedding wasn't in our budget. It would be cheaper to elope in Greece with close friends and family than honeymoon there. Happy with our decision, we told the family in May that we would get married in Greece in December. Everyone was excited for exactly 6 days until Paul and Eva shared their date, 1 month before ours. It felt intentional. Paul has a thing about being the eldest and married first. In surprise, everything then turned to them. Band or DJ? White or beige linens? Who will be the flower girl? Everyone only cared about Paul and Eva's big wedding, not me and Jack's. It felt like everything was going wrong. Only one member of the bridal party, Taylor, said she'd go to Greece. Even my mom wouldn't come. Paul and Eva were determined to upstage us. Nobody cared about our wedding. Even the bachelorette party sucked. But that's another story. So Jack and I decided in July to do a private courthouse ceremony. Something just for us instead of everyone else. Jack and I still eloped in Greece alone. See edit below. It was perfect. And we had a little of our budget left, so decided to throw a small reception for friends' family back in the US when we returned. There we shared our secret that Jack and I actually married in July. People freaked out. Ava blurted, "What was the point of Greece?" and fumed the rest of the night. Our friends were quiet and kept to themselves. Taylor left early for an emergency. Even my mom left early. Later, Taylor called and said she felt hurt she wasn't included in the real wedding. She was included. She found out about our real wedding when my own family did. She was invited to the reception and the Bach, the two most intimate and expensive celebrations of my life. She used a lot of therapy talk, like, "Your day isn't about me, I just wanted to be a part of it." But nobody else complained, including my family, who are more important to me than anything. If they didn't feel excluded, why should she? My coworker thinks Aita. She said people traveled for our reception on late notice just to be told they weren't important enough for the real wedding. But nobody cared about our wedding. They just felt entitled to it after the fact. ETA, there were 3 events. 1, courthouse, July, just us. 2, ceremony, honeymoon in Greece, December, just us. And 3, reception in US with family in January. We unfortunately had to uninvite my in-laws and Taylor from Greece after my mom couldn't attend. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You know what? You're the jerk. For starters, I'm convinced this whole thing with Paul and Eva is entirely in your own head, and you made a nonsense casserole over nothing. Life does not stop for anyone else when Jack is recovering, and Paul and Eva can have their wedding whenever they want. It's not like there's a line or anything on who can have weddings first. You sound like you really crave attention, and your words and actions throughout the post are super off-putting. As for the actual conflict, I don't know why you decided to wait until right then and there to announce that, or at all. It sounds so weird to attend a wedding only for one of you to randomly throw out, "Oh yeah, we actually got married months ago, LOL." Really just sounds spiteful, and a reason to stir up drama nobody needed. Comment 2. Oh no, another couple got engaged and married in a month when it's supposed to be your wedding year? They're clearly out to get you. There's no other explanation. Yeah, people will probably be more excited about an event they're able to go to with a lot of active planning than one they won't be at. Especially if once they've made the effort to travel to celebrate you on short notice, you make it seem like they weren't important enough to know the real plans. It's 6+ months after you got married. They're probably wondering why the party was late notice, not better organized. It seems like they made the effort to be there, and at every step you're discounting their efforts. You're the jerk. Now for the update, thanks for sticking around. So after the reception drama, things got even messier. Jack's mom called us, crying, saying we'd ruined the family dynamic. She said Paul and Eva felt betrayed because we got married first. It was like we couldn't do anything right. Then out of nowhere, Jack's job offered him a promotion, but it meant moving across the country. It was a huge opportunity, but the timing was awful. We were still dealing with the fallout from the wedding and reception. Jack wanted to take it, said it was a fresh start. I wasn't so sure. We fought about it a lot. I felt like we were just running away from our problems. In the middle of all this, Taylor dropped another news. She admitted she'd been seeing Paul behind Eva's back. It was like a soap opera. She was the reason Paul was acting so weird about our wedding dates. She felt guilty and said that's why she left the reception early. I was furious. How could she do that to Eva, to us? But then I felt bad for her. She was my friend, and she was clearly a mess. We decided to keep Taylor's secret. I don't know if that was the right choice, but it wasn't our place to tell Eva. Plus, with everything else going on, it felt like one more thing would just break us. Jack and I ended up moving for his job. It was hard leaving everything behind, but Jack was so happy. He said it was like we were finally getting the attention we deserved. I tried to be happy too, but it was hard. I missed my family, and I kept thinking about Taylor and Paul and how everything was left unresolved. The move did give us some space from the family drama, though. We started to settle in, and I even made some new friends at work. But then Jack's sister called. She said Eva found out about Paul and Taylor. It was a huge fight, and now the whole family was taking sides. It was like we just escaped one drama for another. Eva called me, crying, asking if I knew. I lied and said no. I felt terrible, but I didn't want to get dragged back into the mess. She said she felt like her whole marriage was a lie. I didn't know what to say. I just listened. Things got even worse when Jack's mom called again. She said that because of the affair and our secret wedding, the family was falling apart. She blamed us for starting it all. I couldn't believe it. How was any of this our fault? But Jack just shrugged it off. He said his family was always looking for someone to blame. Now we're just trying to move on. Jack's new job is going well, and I'm trying to focus on the positives. But it's hard not to think about everything that's happened. I keep hoping things will get better, but it feels like we're stuck in this cycle of drama. And I'm starting to wonder if we'll ever really be free of it. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.